Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we find ourselves in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, at the Toy and Action Figure Museum. Come tag along as we play with some awesome figures.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
Familiar faces greet you as soon as you enter, with Lego Batman and Superman himself standing tall, ready to welcome you to this home of heroes. And then Scooby-Doo dressed as a wizard, because why not, right next to Green Lantern, and a couple things that you can buy to take home with you later. And keep your eyes peeled for Waldo. Stay tuned to the very end if you don't happen to find him. And we've bought our tickets and we are now going in to see the actual museum. It's difficult to pick the best characters to showcase in a museum, but they managed to get some great action figures here. And you can't talk about action figures without mentioning that real American hero, G.I. Joe. As you can see, we're coming up on the middle of a very fierce battle that was taking place between G.I. Joe and the forces of Snake Eyes. G.I. Joe himself is actually dubbed the first ever action figure, so he's gotta be a staple at something like this. That also leads into a series of things that have all been created off of Joe and his friends. Anything you could want to see from this storied franchise is right here, and they're all set up as if they're in the middle of their missions, ready to get out there and defend freedom for everyone. Displaying the action figures like this instead of just the ones in the boxes really makes it come to life. This way you can get Captain America and Wonder Woman in the mix. They're there to help out in taking down whoever's in those buildings behind them. They've got plenty of in-box samples too, but this just makes them feel more played with. Oh, there's Spider-Man just hanging out. He's not really helping. But yeah, there we go. There's some that are in the boxes. You can see with all of their different accessories and things that came with them. And some other American heroes. We got Neil Armstrong in the back there. I'm glad they made an action figure out of him. And kind of stuck with the American theme, so we even had some presidential dolls. If you want Clinton, you want a Bush, right here for you, Ronald Reagan, who doesn't want that? And then all the way back to the first presidents, we got Washington, Lincoln, JFK. Really great things to pick up. And then, what is more American than sports? We got good old football, and then we have some baseball figures. These are, as you can tell, pretty old, but still in great condition. We got plenty of them out of the packaging and in the packaging, just so you can remember those favorite classic games. Certainly a home run of a collection. A little bit outside of the action figures and toys, they have a section that is dedicated to the famous cartoonists that have come from Oklahoma. This is set up so you can see some of their work. All these people were born in one of the cities here in Oklahoma, including Chester Gould, who was the creator of Dick Tracy. I didn't expect to see this here, but was pleasantly surprised. It was almost like a Hall of Fame of Oklahoma cartoonists. They had little placards of all of them with their picture and what they were notable for, with a lot of different samples of their work. And then, located next to it, was a whole case of Dick Tracy toys and memorabilia. This was certainly one of the more famous characters to have been spawned here in Oklahoma, so it definitely made sense to have a showcase about that famous spy. Speaking of spies, who can forget Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery? Had to have a little bit about that guy in here. And there was figures from all three movies. There was even a doll that had real chest hair. Something definitely worth pointing out. We have found what the museum says is the strangest action figure they've ever seen, and I think I have to agree. This is the meat that Rocky punches in the movie Rocky. And now we step through this arch and enter a galaxy far, far away to see one of the series that spawned some of the most famous action figures of all time. That's right, Star Wars. That epic battle in the stars of good versus evil, Jedi versus Sith, and tales of high romance and danger. Who doesn't love this far-flung sci-fi fantasy? Well, something they realized very early on is that the characters from Star Wars were ripe for making toys out of. They had representation of all 9 main movies and plenty from the various spin-offs and TV series that have come from the same universe, and man, it was almost overwhelming how much there is. There's actually complete museums across the country that are nothing but Star Wars. So, just filling up a little room didn't take a lot of effort at all. But no matter who your favorite character was, be it Luke Skywalker, you could find versions of him all the way from his farm boy days on Tatooine up through his Jedi Master days. There was Chewbacca everywhere. Jabba the Hutt had a couple. We even had Grogu, little baby Yoda from The Mandalorian. Cutouts, Han Solo, Darth Vader, Boba Fett, R2-D2. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they even had an action figure in here somewhere that was labeled something like Stormtrooper number 4 or something like that. Any character you could want. Young Anakin, he even had an umbrella, he had a helmet, everything. All the iconic ships, the Millennium Falcon, Slave One, tons of it was here. It was absolutely nostalgia-filled, just seeing all these scenes, all these characters from what is possibly one of the most famous movie franchises of all time. The Force was undoubtedly very strong with this section. But after getting our fill of heroes and space dangers, we went a little Earthside and saw some horrors from around here. That's right, lots of villains and scary movie icons, all made into toy shapes, just in case for some reason you saw these serial killers and were like, hey, I would love to have a toy version of that killer. Well, your wish has come true. There was a little bit about this master sculptor and how he actually created these just to get all those details just right, so it was almost like you were playing with exactly what you saw in the movies. That's part of what makes them so collectible, is just how detailed and beautiful these sculpts come out. But of course, villains never get as much time as heroes do. Looking over here, everything got very, very green. The Hulk has always been an extremely popular action figure, and this was just a small sampling of all the places you could find this green monster. It's interesting to think that out of all the heroes out there, the Hulk is actually one of the ones that's gotten the most iterations done of him in pop culture, with movies, TV series, comic books. He is all over the place. For a big green guy, he definitely gets around. And honestly, the Hulk is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to heroes displayed here. We got the Power Rangers, who doesn't love them? And then my personal favorite, Spider-Man. Another fandom with plenty of colorful characters and costumes. Wrestling figurines. There was well over 100 of these guys. I didn't know there was even that many wrestlers out there, but I was quickly proven wrong, as we can see by this wall. And then nearby, a whole wall of Marvel heroes and other various friends and allies. I think Kiss was in there for some reason, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they've shown up in a few Marvel books, so that tracks, that makes sense. Good old Captain America, a lot of the X-Men. Awesome to see these guys all assembled together. And you had to make sure to look everywhere here. Lining the top of some of these sections were some fantastic old cereal boxes. Some of these I actually remember seeing in stores. Other ones were a little before my time, but they were beautiful. I really wish that cereal still went all out on promotions like this. I know the toys used to be way cooler than what you find nowadays. You even get to pay a visit to one of America's best towns, Springfield. Any museum that has a section devoted to The Simpsons is automatically 5 stars in my book. The Simpsons is one of the longest running primetime TV shows of all time, and everybody's familiar with this family. Much like the Star Wars section, you could find something here from almost any character in The Simpsons that you really liked. It's actually surprising how many of these side characters they've made toys out of, or at least special comic book editions or things like that that were focused on them. And it makes sense, because honestly, some of the side characters really are what made the show. There was a little Futurama sprinkled in there too, also by the same creator. Also a fantastic show if you've never seen that. So, totally fit in. But seeing all these brought back great memories of all the older episodes, a lot of these comics I used to have, some of these old toys that were representing famous scenes, and just bringing back that rush of how great this show was. Really made me want to go back and watch some of those older seasons, which were better than the new stuff. I'm just happy it was here. But they also had another yellow hero that got his own section. Yes, SpongeBob SquarePants. He had enough things out there to merit his very own yellow section. Good for him. This next franchise is certainly more than meets the eye. No toy museum can be complete without touching on Transformers. There's thousands of these guys out there, and maybe more, because you never know what toy might secretly be a Transformer in disguise. This is another franchise where the villains got just as much attention as the good guys. Sure, the Autobots were cool, but the Decepticons, some of them were actually cooler. I mean, they got to be jet planes and stuff. That's way cooler than an 18-wheeler or a Volkswagen Beetle, if you ask me. Most of these were the classic toys. Almost none of them were based off some of the recent movies. And you know what? I don't think anybody was complaining about that. These were the much better ones. By far the centerpiece of the museum, we have a mecca of action figures all out and ready to be played with. This incredible display was set up to be somebody's room. And honestly, I don't think there's room for a person to live in here when it comes to all the toys. If this is the direction they went in with the next Toy Story movie, we'd probably be there for at least 15 or 16 hours just to give all of them a chance to have a couple of lines. There was tens of thousands of toys in here. Up on the walls, plenty that were all boxed away, kept pristine. But if you look down on the ground, that's where the fun really began. It looks like all the toys had decided to come out and have a party together or something like that. There was no people around, so maybe they were going for kind of a Toy Story thing where they get to come out and play. But, geez, there was every character under the sun. If there had been a toy made of them, it was here. They even had the Yellow Submarine with the Beatles. They had Beatles action figures. They had every Marvel and DC hero. They had Power Rangers, Transformers. All of it was here. Any toy lover would adore having a room like this. See, there's even some McDonald's toys, I think, scattered in there. Some of those cool ones you used to get with Happy Meals. Plenty of vehicles. Every movie. There was Care Bears. There was Ghostbusters. Just looking through this was stepping back into your childhood. There was a lot of nostalgia at play here. Plenty of things that once you saw it, you were like, oh man, I had that, or I haven't thought about that franchise in 10, 20 years. So it was really neat getting to see this. You probably could stay here for a couple of hours just looking at all the different toys and remembering the ones that you had and just bringing back all those good feelings that made you wish that you still had that box that you lost in the garage years ago. As I said, this was set up to be somebody's bedroom. It was supposed to be an adult collector's bedroom, so all of it was framed around the bed, a TV set, there was a dresser, but besides that, every last inch was covered in all these colorful characters. Ooh, the giant Balrog from Lord of the Rings was awesome. I would love to just see what people could come up with story-wise of all these things here. Let me know which one of these is your favorite, which ones you used to have, and what cool ones you've spotted you'd like to add to your collection. I think if anything, this museum proves that you're never too old for toys. Well, thanks for playing along with us today. My name is David. This has been Abnormal Voyages. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Abnormal Voyages. Thanks for watching Abnormal Voyages.
Don't worry, we didn't forget about Waldo. Did you manage to find him? If not, here's where he is. Right down here, next to Ecto-1 and Captain Planet.